Welcome back to another episode of Good Morning Let's Basketball. Nikola Jokic, he's been dominating the NBA as of recently. They just won the NBA championship, and his lesser athleticism playing style makes a case that Larry Bird could ultimately play in the NBA today. And during Larry Bird's career, he averaged 24.3 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, 6.3 assists per game, and 49% from the field during his career. So do you guys believe that his lesser athleticism like Jokic would make him a case to be able to play in today's NBA?
So the thing with that separates Jokic and Larry Bird to me, obviously they're both very different in size. Jokic is a lot bigger. He's 7 feet tall and he weighs a shit ton more. So he's able to bully people in the paint. And he also is very talented. I think he's a lot more talented than Larry Bird is. He's a better passer. I think he's a better low post scorer. He can shoot very well. He can shoot very well from the mid range as well as offensive rebounding. So I feel like where he lacks in athleticism, he really makes up for it in his talent and all the areas I just explained. Now, when we talk about Larry Bird's case to play in today's NBA, I believe he could play in today's league, but at best, he'll be like a 76ers version of Tobias Harris, like this past season. Do good sometimes. I don't think he'll have these MVPs and these championships, or he could have championships, but maybe not as the best player on this team, obviously, because looking at him back then, yeah, he was great. He was a good shooter. He was able to bully people, but now players are a lot more stronger and more athletic. I just feel like it wouldn't translate. That's just me, though. Honestly, I feel like if he were to play in today's NBA, at best, he would be a role player.
See, I don't know. He'd be more like to me, I think his game similar is to like Luka Doncic, and we see that Luka Doncic is dominating the NBA as well. Larry Bird, his 3-point attempts per game were 1.9 during his career, and that 3-point line actually got introduced his rookie year. And Nikola Jokic is taking 2.2 attempts per game from three, and Luka Doncic is averaging 8.2 attempts from three. So if we're talking about like Larry Bird and his 3-point percentage from the three, I think he'd be able to get more shots and his points per game would go up to maybe like he's averaging 24.3 per his game for his career. I think it'd go up to like maybe 29. And then his game as well too. He didn't affect you just from his scoring. Like his passing was great. He averaged what I say six assists per game. And then with the spacing of the NBA today, I think you can make a case that he'd be able to make more like shot attempts for his team members, like get them open looks like Jokic does. If he's not looking to pass, he can drive in, score, or he can shoot it from deep. That's what my opinion is.
I see what you're saying, but with Luka Doncic, I think Luka still is also a lot more talented than Larry Bird is. I mean, playmaking wise and shooting wise. Luka Doncic, like you said, he shoots 8 threes a game. Shit, I thought it was more, to be honest. But he also shoots them very deep. Larry Bird didn't have range like that. And players today can also defend the three a lot better than they were able to compared to when the 3-point line was first introduced. So I don't know. Obviously, he was great during his time as Larry Bird, top 10 of all time, probably. I'd probably put him in there. But as far as putting him in today's game, I just don't think he has the athleticism and the skill just to hang around with these guys, because all these guys can defend the three very well as shoot. So, I mean, like you said, literally his first year in the NBA, the 3-point line was also his first year in the NBA as well. Players didn't know how to defend the three like that. Also, we don't really know how great he can space because he never really had to. The game was a lot more tight packed, passing around through the big men. So I don't know. That's just my philosophy behind that. But
all right, now that the kids are done talking, time for daddy to speak. So no, I'm just messing around. When it comes to Larry Bird, there's a couple of things that I kind of wanted to go over. I agree with Kevin. I do think that Larry Bird would be able to play in today's league. I don't think he would be at the same level as Jokic. The reason why is for a variety of reasons. Number one, just like kind of Kevin and Victor said, his athleticism and his overall kind of body weight and demeanor don't match up very well with what he would be playing today. I think that he would get bodied pretty frequently in the paint. And like you guys said, I mean, his averages for the 3-point line over the course of his entire career was he was averaging 1.9 threes per game, which, like you guys said, is a huge difference compared to today's game. Now, I don't necessarily love the argument of if you had Jordan in today's league, would he be good? If you had Larry Bird and Magic Johnson in today's league, would they be good? The reason why is because personally, I feel like it's a no, right? If you compare their skills and athleticism and the way they played the game compared to today, no chance they're going to be able to play at the same level as here. But to me, if you start to bring in their athleticism and their drive to win, both of those players would be impactful in the game no matter what. So, in other words, what I'm saying is that if Larry Bird was brought into today's league and he was given all of the same training and same everything that LeBron and all these other athletes are getting, I think he would be just because of his, I mean, mainly because of the way that he played the game. I mean, he really wanted to win and he was willing to go through whatever needed to be done to get to where to win an NBA finals or to win a championship. So to me, I think he would do that in today's modern day era league as well. I don't think you would see him be the same kind of athlete that like KD is. And the reason why I go to that comparison is because, you know, Larry Bird is 6'9, 220 pounds over the course of his career. So he was a fairly lanky guy. He wasn't exactly, you know, the strongest, but his mid range and his ability to like distribute the ball was really what he was well known for. Going over kind of the pace difference, just in favor of Larry Bird playing in today's league, in the 1980s, which is when he won, I think, 2 or 3 of his championship, the average pace of the NBA was 101.54, which for those that don't know, which I didn't know up until before this podcast, is how many times a team is taking possession of the ball. If I'm wrong, correct me, Victor and Kevin. Looking at today's league, 2020s, you're at 99.2, which is the highest that it's been since the 1980s. So, you know, I think that in today's league, it's definitely ramped up a little bit, the game speed. And I would say that that would be probably the biggest contributing factor for why Larry Bird could play in today's league. He's used to having a lot of, you know, movement on him. He was playing obviously all the time on the court. And, you know, I think he wouldn't have that much of an issue with stamina. Head to head with Jokic, Jokic is a generational talent that I think will probably never see again. You know, he really is the definition of a unicorn, and he did what everyone, or he did what a lot of people doubted a unicorn could do, which is take a team to the finals and giving Denver their first championship. But you know, Jokic is a big guy, and people have repeatedly said that he doesn't take game type of pace seriously. Or sorry. He doesn't take his like warm-ups and his practice drills very seriously. He's always very relaxed and very, you know, kind of just trying stuff. I think that that says a lot about the kind of player that he is and how easy it is for him to get a bucket. But yeah, I'm done talking. That was way too long.
So my point was, I wasn't trying to say that like Larry Bird would be like Luka Doncic or Jokic. I think he'd be a little bit less than that, but I do not think he'd be like a Tobias Harris role though. Back to the threes though. So the NBA this season, teams are averaging 34.2 attempts from the three. When Larry Bird first entered the league, the average number of threes per game were 2.8. If you were to put Bird in this league today, I think he'd ultimately adjust to that and like maybe take as much as threes as Luka Doncic, maybe a little bit less, maybe like 6 threes a game. And I just, to me, it seems like the way Luka Doncic plays, he's the best comparison to Larry Bird. Luka Doncic is a modern day Larry Bird to me. That's what it kind of looks like his game. He can hit you with the passing, he can drive if needed, he can shoot, he could rebound, and Luka Doncic really can do it all. And it just proves that I feel like Larry Bird could ultimately play in the game today.
One thing that like worries me about this conversation though is on defense. Who's he gonna guard? You can't guard a big, a power forward or a center because simply he's too small. He's only 6'9", 220. He's gonna get bodied. He can't guard a guard because he's definitely not fast enough to keep up with the point guard or a shooting guard. And so say if we stick him on small forwards for like whatever the case is, The NBA right now, like there's a lot of good wings and forward players that are much more athletic, faster, and stronger than I think Larry Bird was. So, for example, like KD, like LeBron, Paul George, Kawhi, I don't think he's going to be able to guard guys like that. The offense is definitely a very important part, but we also have to look at it from a defensive perspective as well. On top of like what I said about him being on offense, yeah, I think he can definitely muscle up 15 to 20 points a game. But on the defensive end, I do not see him being able to guard anybody out there. He doesn't have the speed, he doesn't have the quickness and strength that some of these players just do today. Like they're just more talented and bigger and stronger. Like it's just, to me, it's just kind of just like that simple fact of like I don't think he could play defense in today's NBA. As well as the how he would get more 3-point shots in today's NBA too. Would he be able to hit them efficiently? Because like you said, he only shot 1 or 2 a game. If he's shooting more a game, like, yeah, he has a better chance at making it, but that doesn't necessarily translate to him making more threes and scoring more because he still has to have that efficiency.
For sure. Do you guys think it's harder to guard guys that with like this less athleticism like Jokic or Bird? Because like you constantly have to guess what they're gonna do because of how skilled they are. They can either drive, shoot, or pass. They can almost do it all on the floor besides athleticism. So do you think it's hard to guard guys like this that you don't know how what they're gonna do with the ball because ultimately they can control the game?
Ideally, yeah. I also feel like it depends on the player too, like what type of talent they have and what certain moves they like to do. When you're guarding someone that's really fast, so say like John Morant and like De'Aaron Fox, or someone that really wants to get to the rim and dunk, and they like favor like that one move, maybe someone that like a lefty that only likes to go left. I feel like them, like they're probably more lethal because they're so dominant at one thing, but it can probably be easier to contain guarding this person. Doubles, switching, you could find a way for it to work. But guarding, like you said, a lesser athletic player that has a deeper bag and more like a skill set and talent, I feel like in turn it would, depending on who you're guarding, I definitely think it could possibly be harder to guard than guarding someone that's like very dominant in like one aspect.
One of the things I will say is that, going back to just kind of the averages of the NBA, 3 points made back in the 1980s was one point or 1 3 point made per game, whereas now it's 12.4. So in the 1980s, like I said, Larry Bird was only averaging about 1 3 a game. I would assume that if you were a defender and you were to take away that point of his game, he's down to just his mid range. And if you're in the common NBA league right now, well, strategies have changed. Defensive zones and their ability to close in on those guys and take away their abilities are at an all-time high. If we identify that Larry Bird is going to have really 3 main options, and that's take a mid-range shot from the top of the key or drive in and pass out. Well, that's something that almost every NBA team gets used to now. So, in my opinion, I think that that would be something that Larry Bird would be shut down pretty quickly. The reason why Jokic is so efficient at it is because that dude hits circus shots from the 3. He can pretty much hit mid-range shots from anywhere. He can hit the sky hook. He can get into the paint and body whoever. He's like the strongest center in the league right now. So, to me, very different players, very different categories. I do think that Larry Bird, again, could play in the modern NBA. It just wouldn't be at the same dominance level that Jokic is right now.
No, and for sure, I don't think he'd dominate as much as Jokic is doing right now. Like we've never seen a talented big as him before. Another thing with Larry Bird is too is like his mental toughness was there. He obviously wanted to win, and I think he was the first player ever to have a 50-40-90 shooting split, and he had 3 consecutive regular season MVPs in his career, 3 rings on top of that, and just like a lot of it in the NBA is like mental too. If you're gonna want to be great in the league, you're gonna have to be mentally there. And like guys like Jordan, who were very competitive, Bird was very competitive. They all wanted to win, and they all proved every night that why they were great.
Yeah, no, I mean, he definitely has that mentality and grit to be great, but like we said, just like how advanced the game has gotten just with these players, I just don't think I'd be able to see it. And on top of Jokic, obviously, winning the championship just 2 days ago, where do you guys think this puts Jokic all time? Top 20. I think he's definitely one of the best. We can definitely comfortably say he's one of the best centers of all time. He's at that table with the greatest centers of all time for sure.
He's
You
top
cannot.
five.
Top five, yeah, top five for sure.
No,
But
top
let's
five centers. Sorry.
that's what I was saying. Top five centers for sure. But like all time, I've seen people already put him in the top 20 because of his simple resume so far. I mean, two MVPs, Finals MVP, and an NBA champion. I mean, there's many NBA players that don't even have one of those, and there's few NBA players that have all of those or even multiple of those awards. So I don't think putting him in the top 30 or top 20 of all time is crazy. I would have to
Mhm.
like look at a list and like really like break it down in order to say it. But I feel like at this point, kind of just like off the top of my head, I would say top 30 is probably accurate. He's only 28. He still has a lot of time. He could probably get like one or two more MVPs. Hopefully a lot more rings because that team definitely deserves it. And they're still young. If they keep that young core, they can definitely keep it up. But yeah, I think he can definitely retire top 10 all time for sure. And he could definitely retire as the greatest center of all time.
So two things. One, I want to ask, was he on the NBA top 75?
No, he wasn't.
And then two, I was gonna say, I think it's like kind of unfair to like put him on a list right now. His career is not over yet, and like you said, he's very young. He's 28. I
Did you
don't have
put
a
Giannis
list.
on the list though?
What'd you say?
Did you put Giannis on the list though?
No, I didn't put Giannis on the list.
I'm great. I'm one of the
Well,
greatest of all time. I feel like you did it at one point. Not like the greatest of all time, but you said he can make a case.
Oh yeah, I said if Giannis gets more rings, I definitely think he could be top five ever. That
Okay.
was just my opinion. If he continued like just his dominant ability and the way he approaches the game, I think he could be top five ever if he continues to win more rings. But like right now, if you were to say like if to guess like where Jokic could be, I personally I don't know if I would have him top 20 because his career's not over and he's 28 years old.
I could see a argument for him being in the top 20 for sure. In the top 5 list of centers, I would put him at maybe 3 or 4 depending on where you put Tim Duncan cuz my list personally is Shaq.
Tim
It
Duncan was
would
a
go
power.
huh?
Tim Duncan was a power forward.
I looked it up. He played power forward and center. So was that like cuz
He was a power
I
forward.
okay, fine. So we'll scratch that. But I would still say then it's Shaq, Dirk, and then probably Jokic
Dirk was a
as
power
of right
forward.
now. Dirk was a power forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck your list, bro. All right.
Are you
So
kidding me? Hold on.
okay, hey, we got it. Top five centers. There's Hakeem, there's Kareem, there's Shaq. I'll probably put Jokic, and then
Bill Russell, I guess.
I'll probably have like Bill Russell or Wilt.
I'm not doing Will. I like Bill
But you
Russell.
put Bill Russell?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like Wilt
I
was a
think
little,
Wilt's better than Bill Russell.
I think I would rather have Bill Russell.
I'll probably throw in Wilt. Wilt was bigger. I think he was more talented.
You said Hakeem though, right?
Yeah, I said Hakeem for sure. Yeah, he's my favorite center of all time. So I definitely was not going to miss his name. I can't read that idiot.
You're not supposed to read it. Keep going. It's just for the viewers.
Yeah, it says Dirk Nowitzki, power forward. Dumbass.
And center.
Okay, bro. You sit there and Google all you want.
No,
Yeah,
I
okay.
genuinely thought we had talked about Dirk being like one of the greatest centers of all time.
Daniel, if you want
Uh,
to make because like your list was basically like top five big men of all time. That's what it seemed like instead of top five centers because you're adding two power forwards. So if you want to,
maybe
huh?
I was gonna say maybe Daniel talked about being Dirk being a top five center of all time, like with himself, not with us though.
I could have sworn.
No, but for sure, I do definitely think that once like Jokic's career is over and stuff, he could probably make the case to be like top 10 greatest players to ever play the game, maybe even top five. But I just think it's still too early for us to decide that right now, as his career is still young. And Jamal Murray's young too, man. I think he's only 26 or 27, right?
He's not much younger than him. That kind of just bounces over to our next topic coming. Denver Nuggets, NBA champions. Finally, been waiting for this for a couple years now. They finally gotten over that hump, and they beat the Miami Heat the other day. So this Nuggets team is pretty scary. I think they're going to be around as a top 2 to 3 team in the Western Conference for some years. if they can keep this core together. That's the big question mark here. If Jamal Murray can keep doing what he's doing, I don't really think we have to worry about Jokic slowing down anytime soon. I mean, he's only 28. Jamal Murray's 26. Hopefully, this team can stay healthy. If they can keep guys like Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., and then Bruce Brown off that bench is very pivotal for that team. I think this team can definitely win easily 2 to 3 more championships. I don't think anyone in the Eastern Conference this past NBA season would have beaten this Denver Nuggets team in a final series at all.
No, they had the best offense in the league this year, and it was by
Looking
far.
looking back at that playoff run, man, it's like they kind of breezed through it, did they not?
Yeah, I
They
think
beat
they only had 4 losses, right?
Yeah, they beat Minnesota in 5. That's 1 loss. They beat Phoenix in 6, so that's 3 total. Swept LA, and then they lost 1 to Miami.
Yeah.
They did not seem like they struggled at all. I saw a really cool, not really cool, but I saw an Instagram post the other day. They were talking about how Jokic and Dirk's championship run were like very similar. And I was like, oh shit, they were. Because both of them beat LeBron and KD. Both of them beat the Heat. There was other stuff, man. That's the only thing I can remember. But let me see if I can pull it up real quick. But it was like very, very, very similar. Neither of them had an all-star on their team.
Oh yeah,
Jamal Murray is definitely an all-star, but he wasn't an all-star like this past season. Like, you see what I'm trying to say? They didn't
yeah.
have
No,
any.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, because I did see that too. Like before going into playoffs, like if Jokic wins a ring, he'll be the first since Dirk to win like a championships with no all stars on their team
Mhm.
besides himself.
Here's what it is: both led by a European star, both with 0 all-star teammates, both beat KD and friends, both swept the Lakers. That was a good one. Both beat the Heat in the finals. Both teams' first championship. And then it said, who you got in the best of 7 series? I'd probably take Denver. That team is too freaking good for this Dallas
Oh
team.
yeah,
But it's pretty crazy, though, how similar those 2 finals runs were. I mean,
that
even though
is. And what's crazier too is how much Nikola Jokic's career almost came into existence, if you want to call it. Because I don't know if you saw that picture going around when he was like 5 years old or something, that Denver Nuggets sweater in Serbia.
yeah, I did see that. Very full circle moment. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. I thought you were gonna talk about. I thought you were gonna say the picture of him when he was fat as hell with the juice in front of him.
No, no, that one's a good one too.
It's a fire pick, but yeah, I think bro's definitely ready to go home to his horses, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's fun.
he didn't even look hype when he won the finals. It was kind
No,
of looked like he was kind of just like waiting for it. He was like, all right, finally. He'll probably retire.
it it's funny because a lot of people were saying he treats the NBA like it's a 9 to 5.
He really does. It's like a
And
side hustle.
yeah, and then it was just hilarious, like seeing him like pop the champagne too.
Yeah. And that was funny, man. This Nuggets team is really insane to watch. I really hope they can string it together. I like this team. I mean, they all got good players, good level-headed players. So hopefully they can keep it up, man. But like I said, they just got to keep that core together, and I think they'll be straight.
No, for sure. Nikola Jokic in the top 3 players that ever did it in the finals to average 30 points per game and 7 assists. He entered that list with Kobe and Jordan. He put up historic stats this finals. He also was like the first player at the lead in assists, points, and rebounds in the finals throughout the playoffs. Sorry. He led all 3 of those categories, which is pretty crazy to say.
I
And
did see, especially for a center.
yeah, dude, he's been breaking numbers this whole playoffs, historic run to say the least. It was kind of sad for on the Miami Heat side that Jimmy Butler and the Heat did not put up as much as a fight as like we thought we were gonna see. I thought they would at least take him to 6, maybe even 7. But I was seeing something on like an ESPN graphic or something that said Jimmy Butler's points per game or his field goal percentage throughout the playoffs. I think he was shooting 64% in the first round, and then like it slowly dropped, and I think he was shooting around 30% in the finals. And a lot of the Heat players just didn't play that good in the finals. I think the only one who came was Bam Adebayo.
Yeah, the Heat really struggled a lot. Jimmy Butler, like you said, he didn't really shoot that well. He didn't score that many points there in game 5, which I think definitely hurt them. But also, a lot of the role players didn't show up as well. Gabe Vincent and Max Strus were pretty much non-existent out there the whole finals. Gabe Vincent, like the first 2 or 3 games, he was averaging like 20 points. He was getting like, at least that like every single game. But from there, it kind of just declined. And then Strus just trade him, honestly. Send him, put him in that package for Dame, bro. He was horrible. Dude was cheeks. It's funny how Bam was like the one player that showed up, but the last series against Boston, complete opposite. All these role players were hooping. What happened to Caleb Martin is my question. Like,
Yeah, dude, they were all non-existent, like you said, all these role players. The only player who showed up was Bam. And I
yep,
saw something too saying that Nikola Jokic is so good that he was not playing against the Miami Heat. He was playing against Eric Spoelstra.
that's low key facts.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, just those players did not show up. So backwards from the Boston series because everyone was playing good, but Bam was the one shitting the bed. They get to the finals, the big stage. Bam showed up, especially against Jokic. That was my biggest worry. I was like, how is Bam gonna do? No, dude actually played really good. Everyone else though, just not good.
And I feel like that Jimmy Butler at the end, he got hot. Like he had a 12-0 run himself
Yeah.
against the Nuggets. And then like out of nowhere, like I think he just like wanted to see if that heat check was still there and he was just throwing up shots. I think they had a chance to tie it or something, right? And it was either to tie it or
Had that fadeaway three from the wing.
yes, I was like, what the hell is he doing? There was like 14 seconds or 17 seconds left, and he just threw that up early in the shot clock. You can't be doing that. At least drive in for a two and then foul, or try to give it to an open guy. I don't know why he decided to take that by himself.
Yeah, that was an impulse shot for sure. I think they could have definitely gotten a better look. The announcers actually said that too. They said, "Oh, like why like rush the three? There's so much time. Like go to the paint, get a layup, just chip away. Maybe you get an and one. I mean, Jimmy's pretty good at finishing around the rim and converting on and ones. So that's what I thought he would have done. But remember that three against Boston last year in Game 7 when he pulled it up on fast break? We know he likes to do that, but I think they could have definitely gotten a better shot. I mean, they were still down 3-1, so it would have been a hard comeback to accomplish, especially against Denver. But you never know. Like they made it this far in the playoff run. They conquered all the towers. I think it could have definitely been done with if they got a better shot. But like we'll never know.
Yeah, and for sure, like a huge shout out to like Aaron Gordon too. He's had hard defensive assignments the whole playoffs. He had to guard LeBron, KD, who was the first round? Anthony Edwards.
I think he guarded Anthony Edwards in the first round.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards, and then Jimmy Butler last series.
Dude had a task in these playoffs, and he played really well in the finals too. I mean, I remember the first game he scored like the first 10 or 12 points, and I was like, "Oh, this dude's going off." But no, Aaron Gordon definitely showed up. He was such a huge pickup for that Denver team. Dude fit right in, and he improved his game a lot from like when his days in Orlando. Dude was just a straight up dunker. Now he's out there like a great role player. He's able to score from all three levels. He has a three ball, still fly and dunk like crazy. So he was a very solid pickup for that team. He fit perfectly with them.
Yeah, I agree. He's mastered his role there, and as the years go by, he'll continue to improve. And a lot of guys on that team too, like MPJ, and then Christian Brown especially. He's very young, and I'm excited to see what he's going to be doing in the future.
Yeah, no, that kid plays with heart. Going into the next topic, way too early prediction of the 2024 NBA Finals. What's on your guys' minds? Who's going to be there? Who's not going to be there? Who's going to win? In how many games?
You go first. Let me think about this.
Okay, so out the West, I think Denver's going to be there again. Truthfully, they're hot. I mean, they didn't slow down once in these playoffs. I feel like it would be like a crime to not include them either in your finals or at least conference finals for the whole next season. They showed no sign of slowing down. They played great throughout the whole playoffs. And the most important thing now is they know they can get it done. They got it done. So, like, why not repeat? And the coach said it after the game, after they won the finals. He said, this is great, but we want more. We want more finals. Like, that's the mentality they have. I think they definitely want more. They want to win as many rings as possible, as everyone else does too. But the big question before the playoff started is can Denver get it done? Because they've gotten so close past a few years, but they just have gotten unlucky. Now that they got it done, can they do it more? I definitely think they can. So out the West, I definitely have Denver returning to the finals. And then as far as the East, I think I'm going to go Milwaukee. The past 2 years in the playoffs, they've gotten so unlucky with injuries. Last year was Chris Middleton, who they really missed. Boston took him to 7, and they almost beat him. And then this year they lost in 5 or 6, I can't remember, to Miami, obviously, which everyone thought was a fluke, but we can definitely determine now that it was not a fluke at all, just because they made the NBA Finals. But they missed Giannis for a couple of games of that series, and I doubt he was playing healthy at all when he was playing. So, and then Giannis is definitely now determined because he definitely did not expect to get bounced in the first round by an 8 seed. So I think he's going to come back harder next season. I definitely think Milwaukee's going to return. They won the finals in 2021, put on a great show against Phoenix. We know they can definitely get it done, but they did get it done. So yeah, I got a Denver and Milwaukee. And as far as who's going to win, literally no idea. That would be a series I would love to see, is those two teams going at it, because I feel like those two teams are the best all around teams in the NBA. Probably throw Boston in there too in the mix. I'll probably just throw Milwaukee because they have a better star player. Like Giannis is better than Tatum and Brown combined. But that's probably why I have Milwaukee in there over Boston.
I'm gonna say in the West, I would think it's Denver's definitely going to be in the conference finals again. They're just too strong to count them out for next year. As for who's their opponent in the conference finals, I could see a toss up between LA, Lakers, and the Warriors. Just because I think the Warriors, I mean, we forget that they were the reigning champs this year. So they have what is needed to win a championship. It's just they need to figure out what's going on internally. Obviously, this at the start of the season, we had Draymond punching Jordan Poole, and then towards the end of the season, we saw Jordan Poole fumbling with his ball sack basically on the floor. I think that next year, hopefully, they'll figure it out, and the Warriors will be in that conference finals versus Denver. I think if the Warriors do enough that they could be in next year's finals. So I'm going to say Warriors in the West. And then as for the East, I think that Heat are 100% going to be back in the same situation that they were this year. I do like putting Milwaukee in there because I do think, like, you guys said, they have just had a, bad few years, but they do still have Giannis and they do still have a good team around them and a good coaching staff. So I'm going to say Milwaukee versus the Heat. I like the Heat's chances more because I mean they had a good solid team this year going into the finals. It was just they were playing one of the best offensive teams we've ever seen in the Denver Nuggets. So personally, I think that next year Miami will be back in the same situation, but this time with all of I think a lot of people will want to be going to Miami to play, whether that's Damian Lillard or Zion, who's potentially available. Whoever they get, I think the Heat have a good chance next year too, but could be wrong. So I'm going to say Heat versus Warriors. And then that series, I would think the Warriors would win again. I hate to do that to Jimmy Butler because that would mean he would lose 3 consecutive, well, not consecutive, but 3 NBA championships that he's played in. That's my opinion for 2023-2024 season.
So for the West, I got Nuggets coming out. I just think that nobody's gonna be able to stop them. And then for the East, I was gonna say the Miami Heat as well. They're looking to add another star to team up with Jimmy Butler, and maybe is Damian Lillard. It could be Bradley Beal. There's talks about him getting traded. And then for a sleeper pick, I'm gonna pick a sleeper out of the East. I'm gonna pick maybe the New York Knicks. They had a very good run this postseason. They made it to the second round, and it seems like they're a little bit more hungry. And I think New York's finally getting good, and they might attract maybe a free agent star to come sign with them. Maybe they trade for Karl Anthony Towns, or if they land Zion. I know Zion could maybe team back up with RJ Barrett if they trade for him, but we'll see what happens. That's just my sleeper pick for the Knicks.
I think if the Knicks can pull off a trade for Jaylen Brown, it definitely increases their chances. Cat, I feel like they'll be in the same spot that they were this year. Just because I'm not gonna lie, man, I'm a Cat hater. I don't think he's good. He is good, obviously, but like I don't think that's the answer that they really need or looking for. I feel like that the person that they have at center right now in Mitchell Robinson, it's like the perfect center that you can ask for. Big guy, aggressive, rebounder, and can block shots. Cat is not aggressive. He can rebound the ball, of course, but he can't defend at that much of a level. And then who else did you say? You said Zion. Zion to the Knicks would be pretty good. He can team up with his trash can college teammate RJ Barrett. I still don't even know if he's good or not, bro. Like I really struggle to believe if RJ Barrett is even good or not. But yeah, if Zion can stay healthy and can stay away from Instagram models, he can probably hoop it up in New York for sure. But I did see a lot of trades that he might get traded to Charlotte for the pick that they have, and then they'll take Scoot Henderson. So
Mm.
that's another trade scenario that I saw too. Maybe Bradley Beal. I know I just saw something before we started filming today that the Wizards are definitely going to entertain some trades for him in
Yeah,
case it blow it up. Maybe even Kyle Kuzma at that point. Why not? If they're going to blow it up, why not send everyone out? Try to trade for something for Kuzma. Kuzma's a solid player. He could definitely help out over there in New York. But yeah,
Are
I
we
number one priority should probably be Jaylen Brown if they're going to pull off a trade.
are we all counting out Boston next year?
yeah, I think that team's not gonna go that far.
We got to see what Jaylen Brown does, man.
Yeah, that's my opinion. I don't think Jaylen Brown's there next year.
He might not be. I mean,
Even without him, though, you guys don't see them being one of the stronger teams in the East. I mean, they are. I know you guys think that they are, but you don't see
yeah,
them.
they'll be there, but I don't. I just don't see them getting it done with this team. They've been close so many times. They haven't gotten it done. I mean, they lost to an 8 seed. They lost last year in the finals when they were arguably at their best. They lost in the conference finals to Miami. It doesn't work. This
Hmm.
team doesn't work. I don't think they're ever going to get it done because if they're able to get it done, it would have been done.
Hmm.
This team doesn't work. I think they definitely need a switch up, and I feel like that switch up starts with trading Jaylen Brown.
I think check back in with them in 2 or 3 years when Jaylen Brown's close. Well, he's what, 25 now, or is he
Yeah, he has to
26?
win 6 rings in 2 years to keep his promise. If you do that math, I don't know if that's possible, but
Yeah, I don't know. I think check back in with Boston, and if Tatum is still their franchise player, which you would assume he will be, and when he's closer to 28, 29, I think that's when he'll have enough experience and Boston will know what to do or what to give him at least in order for him to be successful.
he has the experience though, man. I mean, he played in the conference finals his rookie year in the NBA, and he's played in the conference finals numerous times. He was in the finals just last year. I just don't think they can get it done, man. They've
No,
had
yeah,
all
for sure.
they've had a great team. They've had great coaching defensively. They're all there. I just don't feel like they can get it done. And they haven't. So I
Yeah.
feel like that's not really like too wrong of me to assume. So I feel like a change is definitely needed. I mean, they don't have to blow it up. That would be stupid, obviously. But getting some
Well,
cap Jaylen Brown or maybe even like a couple solid role players I feel like could definitely help that team out.
yeah, I mean, that team to me almost seems like it is about to get blown up just because, if Jaylen Brown leaves, okay, there's that gone. But then you also have Al Horford who's retiring soon, which is to me a big part of that team. And, your next guy up would be who? Marcus Smart, who isn't necessarily that guy, in my opinion. And, he's not going to be the answer for Boston going forward. But like you said, I mean, it's impossible to know
Yeah.
moving forward.
Another thing too is like say if Jaylen Brown stays this if he's on the Celtics next season, the season after he's a free agent and he's eligible for a 5-year, $295 million contract, which would make him the highest paid player in NBA history. Now, he's definitely going to take that contract, but is it going to be with Boston? I don't think so because the very next year, Tatum is eligible for a 5-year, $315 million contract, which would make him the highest paid player ever. It would be federal to dump $600 million into 2 players on your team. They're not going to have no depth. They would have to make cuts, and a lot of players don't want to take pay cuts for this team because I don't really know why, but I think dumping $600 million
Boston.
to players is absurd, especially knowing that these 2 players can't get it done. So I think it's stupid if they do that. I think they're fools. They will have no depth. They'll probably have to get rid of players like Smart and some other depth, like Derek White too, maybe, unless they want to take pay cuts. And if they do, then so be it. But have fun being ringless.
I don't think that's gonna work. Like you said, I think there's gonna be pay cuts, and I don't think there's gonna be enough players on the team that are gonna be willing to take a pay cut.
Yeah, I don't see that happening either, especially with the amount of money that's about to get thrown around the NBA. Like, bro, Jaylen Brown's about to be the highest paid player in NBA history. Are you joking? Like, Jaylen Brown's good, bro. Don't get me wrong, but highest paid player ever? Come on now. Like, the amount of money that these players are going to start making. Well, the amount of money they've been making is insane, but like, it's that cap is only increasing. It's only ever been increasing, especially with the numbers and the I don't really know if the popularity is gaining or losing right now, but if it's gaining, then that's going to help the players out a lot too.
With this younger generation of players, do you guys think that if there are two players that deserve the highest contracts out there, it is Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, or do you guys think there are other guys around their age that are more worthy of that?
Jokic currently is the highest paid player of all time. I mean, he's only 2 years older than Tatum, so I think he's definitely more deserving. And then I'd probably say Giannis too, or Luka over Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I'd say those three guys are easily over Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum.
If we're saying like Tatum's age or younger, I'd say Tatum and Luca for sure. Probably like the top two youngest guys deserving of the biggest NBA contract. But like Kevin said, Giannis and the Joker definitely deserve that highest paid.
Yeah. Jokic already has it. I'm definitely excited to see what the contract that Giannis is going to get when his contract expires, whenever that is. It's probably going to be insane.
Isn't it like 2028 maybe? I think he signed like a crazy extension. Wasn't it like 6 years or something?
I can't remember when he signed an extension, but you know how they always extend the extension? They did it with Steph Curry. They've done it with Dame.
Yeah.
What's that number going to look like? It's going to be a lot of zeros. But yeah, seeing that dude's contract, especially if he gets another ring.
So he signed the 5 year, 228, $200 million contract.
When?
It's only been 3 years since he signed it. 2 more years he's got.
Okay. Yeah, he's probably going to get an insane contract, honestly. But yeah. Now that the NBA finals are over, now that that bullshit's out the way, we can finally figure out, we can start the recruitment process of Kyrie and LeBron. What everyone really cares about. We don't give a shit about the finals, bro. We care about Kyrie and LeBron. So it's possible that the reunion happens on the Dallas Mavericks, which would be pretty cool, honestly. Luka, LeBron, Kyrie. I don't know if that would work at all, but it'd be really cool to see. It would sell tickets for sure, sell a lot of jerseys. But him going to Dallas, it would definitely have to be free agency because there's no way they can pull off a trade without getting rid of Kyrie or Luka Doncic. So who do they trade for at that point? LeBron for Reggie Bullock or fucking Dwight Powell? That's like
Christian
that's like
Wood.
what's that shit called? IBM Watson, the fantasy trade.
Yeah.
It's like a fantasy trade. LeBron for Reggie Bullock.
Great deal.
I don't know. That'd be absurd. But yeah, I think if a LeBron and Kyrie union happens, it'll definitely be on LA before it happens on Dallas. Just because money too, like say, like, well, obviously if Kyrie goes to LA, they wouldn't have to pay him. But if they do pay Kyrie that massive contract, like whatever he's eligible for, they're already paying Luka right now. They definitely cannot afford LeBron to pay him unless he takes a pay cut. But what are the odds of that? And how big of a pay cut would he have to take? Because obviously you need role players after that too, which they don't have. They don't have anybody that can play defense. So I think that should definitely be their main focus. I know this is all hypothetical. It's just kind of like a fun thing to talk about. But I feel like a reunion is a lot more likely on LA.
Well, Kyrie was trying to recruit LeBron there, and then they like reporters asked LeBron about it, and he said, "I'll think about it." So we'll definitely see in coming
Hey, he's
weeks.
also going to retire too. That's just the
Yeah,
cap.
but ultimately, I don't think this would work. We talked about it in previous podcasts that we think the super team era is starting to die out. And I think if we were to get this super team of LeBron, Kyrie, and Luka Doncic, I don't think it'll work out. I think it'll be the same narrative that happens around an all-star break every year. Is this team's not doing good? Let's trade everybody off the bench and get a new roster. I think that's what would happen.
That's definitely what would happen. But yeah, like you said, the super team era definitely came to an end. I mean, the last three championship teams have all been teams that have stuck together for numerous years, or the two stars in that team have been together for numerous years. Thank God. We don't need to see freaking KD, Giannis, and LeBron teaming up in the future. That'd be some shit. Maybe Giannis even going to the Warriors next season or the next 2 years. Possibility. It's a great possibility. I don't think Giannis would do everything like that, but you can never be too sure with these players, man.
I'm gonna be honest, I could see him leaving now. You asked me 3 years ago if Giannis would leave, I think he'd be more willing to leave now.
Yeah. You already won a ring there.
Yeah.
Well, like, why not leave? I don't know. I don't really care what Giannis does. It just depending on like what team he goes to. Like if he goes to the Warriors, then okay, like piss off. Shit, New York maybe, Miami, join the
That would be
team.
interesting.
Team he can't really beat.
I
Go
would
play,
like to see that.
go play with Luca in Dallas. That'd be sick.
Yeah, that would be sick.
I think of different scenarios.
I was looking at the draft picks that the 2024 draft picks for when Bronny's getting drafted. And I don't know if I think in the mock draft they have him even outside of the top 10. I mean that list will probably change. As of right now, they don't have him in the top 10, I think. Mavericks have a first round pick and I think it's 1 through 10 protected, which I don't know exactly what that means, but I wonder if there's a possibility in which Dallas somehow manages to draft Bronny as a way to get LeBron over to the Mavericks, just because I don't really see in a competition between LA or Dallas of where Kyrie is going to go. And when I say LA, I mean Lakers. I think it's, to me, more possible that LeBron would go to the Mavericks, just because I think Kyrie going to the Lakers right now is something that neither team is really would seriously discuss. I think the Lakers would be encouraged to, but Dallas and Mark Cuban and that whole administration is probably more excited to see what he'll do next season and over the next few seasons rather than just sending him off to LA.
Mavericks even said that they're not gonna even entertain any trade offers for Kyrie, and that he's gonna have to stay there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much longer he has on his contract, but I doubt he resigns with Dallas. I mean, I don't assume he hates Dallas at all, but it's probably not ideally where he wants to be. LA is probably his LeBron, or just really anywhere else, to be honest. You never know with that guy, honestly. He'd probably go to New York.
I was gonna ask, like, does Kyrie even want to play basketball anymore? Damn near. I think he just wants to hoop at this point. Which, credit to you, that's cool, but I don't know. Doesn't seem like he's interested in winning a championship anymore.
I mean, I feel like he definitely does, but the Brooklyn definitely stuck it to him when they traded him to Dallas.
Yeah,
That definitely was not on his list. I don't think he hates it, like I said, but is it ideally where he wants to be? Probably not.
he hasn't been in like championship level contention in how many years? Kyrie. It's been a while because he left Cleveland and went to Boston in like 2017, 2018, or was it later?
Boston made the conference finals the first year with Kyrie, but he wasn't playing. He was hurt. So technically, he wasn't like obviously on the floor. Well, he wasn't on the floor, but
Right.
oh, probably since those Cleveland days was the last time he really played in the finals or got that deep.
Yeah. I just wonder if that, it's been a while since he's been at the competitive level in the NBA, just from personal stuff and because the league has bounced around and who's been the most elite. It was Giannis, then it was Kawhi, or back and forth, and then now it's Jokic. I would like to see him go to a place where he would be in contention. Personally, I don't think Dallas is that area, so I kind of agree with you, Kev. I don't think he's going to be there much longer. We'll see.
Where he could go is Phoenix because they waived Chris Paul, which really caught me by surprise. I definitely didn't think that they were going to waive Chris Paul, bro. But I definitely didn't see them bringing him back. I thought possibly he was going to get traded somewhere, but no, they just straight up said, like, you're waived. Which
Yeah,
I guess makes sense. I mean, the NBA season is simply too long for Chris Paul. I mean, I don't think he's ever played a full playoff run that he's ever been in. He's always gotten hurt. He gets hurt throughout the season. He's old, man. He's up there in age. I feel like it's definitely time for him to probably hang it up. Unfortunately, Chris Paul's Chris Paul. Would like to see him get a ring. Well, I don't really give a shit if you want a ring or not, but I know other people wanted to see him win. Yeah, Chris Paul waved the Suns. I'm really interested to see what Phoenix is going to do because they don't really have a point guard. I mean, they have guys like Cameron Payne, but that guy's not going to win you a finals. I mean, Devin Booker and KD and Chris Paul can even get you to the finals. So what the hell is that bug going to do?
I thought it was like a little bit disrespectful that they cut him straight up. They definitely could have probably got somebody for Chris Paul,
Something.
or
Money.
yeah, like even draft picks or something. Like just straight up cutting him was crazy.
Maybe they tried though. That's the thing. Maybe they shopped for stuff and they didn't find anything they liked. Because, like, would you trade for Chris Paul right now? for a GM? Hell no, don't even think about
I don't know. I mean, it depends
it.
what team I am.
He's not going to play your full season. He's not going to play your full playoffs. That's just
Yeah.
facts. That's just not even me being an idiot. Like that is literally a fact. Like he won't.
It's unfortunate. I mean, Chris Paul, he was a good player. Was he on the top 75 list or no? I would
Yeah.
assume he was. He
For
was.
He was. He's
Yeah.
definitely one of the greatest point guards of all time. I mean, he's ideally everything you want in a point guard. But he's just at that age, man. It's just we're past that now.
Yeah.
Well,
Like
I
Victor said, though, definitely a slap to the face for the organization to do that to him. You
Oh,
know, right. Well, I mean,
been there, he'll be all right.
that little kid started it at Chris Paul's son's school. I think he like went up to Chris Paul's son and was like, "Your daddy's never gonna win a championship." And then 3 days later, Chris Paul was dropped from the Suns. So,
Phoenix saw
yeah,
that. Like, you know what? No
so
sugar.
here they have like the top like lists or like teams that where he's gonna end up likely playing, and it's Lakers, Clippers, Celtics, Heat, Bucks, or Sixers where he's gonna end up signing to.
Bro, low
Chicago's
key,
not an option.
Huh?
Chicago's not an option.
No.
better not be.
I think Warriors as well. I saw a lot of stuff about him maybe potentially going to Warriors.
If Miami doesn't find a way to land Dame Lillard, they'll probably end up signing Chris Paul.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They do like to hire old point guards, and they got Kyle Lowry in there for some reason.
So say they got Damian Lillard, do you think that Chris Paul would be okay if like he was to sign with the Heat and play like a backup role?
It's
I
probably
would
not
hope
what
so.
he wants. And if they do get Damian Lillard and they try to get Chris Paul, he's going to not have a very high salary playing for the Heat at that point because they paid Tyler Hero a lot of money on top of like what they're paying Jimmy Butler. And then if they get Dame, they got to worry about that too.
Yeah,
So
but I think like ultimately at this point in the career, he's not really very worried about money. I think he's ultimately going to where he could win a ring. And I feel like if he was to go to a Heat with Damian Lillard there, I think he wouldn't mind as much playing like as a backup role. That's just my
We
opinion.
are
I think
are
he'd
we
be a
just
good one.
are we
If
just
he's not
shoving?
on his body, he could probably play a whole season if he plays as a backup. Because, like I said, he's definitely not going to be playing as much or hard. So it could probably be better for him in the long run, honestly, just easier on his body, take some stress off of his body. I feel like he would thrive low key in a backup role, but does he want to do that? Maybe.
Are we just gonna shove all of the NBA players that cannot win a championship into one team? Damian Lillard, Jimmy Butler, Chris Paul. If they were to all end up on the same team, can you imagine what people would say if they like got to the finals again and lost to another Western Conference team?
It'd
You
be a
wouldn't hear the end of it.
you wouldn't. CP0 rings is back at it again.
But I honestly do like the idea of a veteran player like Chris Paul playing on that team. And I know all of those other guys have experience, obviously, but having a guy like Chris Paul who understands and knows the floor and his basketball IQ is decently high, I think it would be a good addition as long as, like you guys said, he can accept maybe a lower pay or a pay cut as well as a more, coaching role, if you will. Because he'll definitely come off the bench and he'll play a little bit, but his main role would probably be to develop and help develop the rest of the team. That would just be kind of my opinion.
Giannis Haslam retired, so he could definitely fill that coaching role because they're missing a spot there.
But honestly, in my opinion, two spots that I think that he'll land potentially is the Warriors. I definitely could see him going there, or the Lakers. It feels like everybody who just wants to play with LeBron at this point.
Yeah. You said Clippers earlier too. I could probably see him reuniting the Clippers. I mean, why not? They have Westbrook. Can't be that hard to take Westbrook's job.
Yeah, if he's looking to retire, I think he'd probably just go to Clippers.
Yeah. We didn't even take that into consideration. He could literally retire.
Oh shit, yeah.
He probably will. Well, it's definitely a possibility. I'm sure he's thinking about it, but we'll never know.
Yeah. He'll retire when LeBron retires.
Thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of Good Morning Let's Basketball. We appreciate you guys listening, and to any new fans, welcome to the show. You can expect episodes typically every Sunday, but sometimes we get lazy and we'll delay it a couple days. But typically, you can catch us every Sunday. Follow us on all of our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram at Good Morning Let's Basketball, as well as subscribing to our YouTube and our Spotify channel as well at Good Morning Let's Basketball. And we'll see you guys next week.